Did we just see the hottest July for home sales in the last 4 years? Well, the stats are in and home sales are up 11%. And not only that, we beat the last 3 years or last 3 Julys, going back all the way to July of 2021. But with that said, average price of a home is down $60,000 from a year ago, and it's down $50,000 from last month. But why is that, and what's actually happening in this market? Well, I'm going to break that down for you and what this means for you as a buyer or a seller, because there's more to it than just the headlines. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If we haven't met, my name is Dilyar Murat. I'm a real estate broker here in the Greater Toronto area. I help people buy, sell, and invest in real estate, and I make educational content like this so you stay up to date with the market, especially here in the Durham region in the Greater Toronto area. Now, if you're watching this, all I ask from you is give me a like and subscribe, because I'll be posting a new video every week. With that said, let's get started. Now, I want you to focus on this chart right here. You see the average price of a home in the GTA was $1,050,000 in July. And that's down about $60,000 from last year, or roughly 5.5%. Now, I know that the news articles are talking about the home sales, which is 6,100 homes have sold in the month of July. And that is up 11% or 10.9% compared to the same time last year. But I gotta tell you, 6,100 home sales is still relatively low if you were to compare it to any normal market. And when I say normal market, I'm talking about markets pre-COVID levels, right? You gotta keep in mind in 2022 and 2023, summer markets were affected because of rate increases. If you remember, Bank of Canada had increased interest rates during that time, and that caused buyers to basically freeze and not do anything. So we had a very, very slow summer in 2022 and 2023. And so comparing this July to that doesn't really say much. Now, I want to point out a couple of things, okay? One of them is active listings. Currently, we have just over 30,000 active listings, active homes for sale. Now, that is a very high number, but if you were to compare it to last month, the number is actually creeping down a little bit, right? In June, we had roughly 32,000 active listings. And so we did see that number go down, meaning, buyers are either buying more or sellers are just taking their houses off the market and not looking to sell anytime soon. Now, another thing that I want to talk about here is that this chart is the average of every single asset class in the GTA, right? So we're talking about condo townhouses, condo apartments, semis, detaches, townhouses, all over GTA. So City of Toronto, Durham Region, York Region, Halton Region, and Peel Region. So these numbers may or may not be relevant to your property or any specific property in a specific neighborhood, because frankly, this is just the average of everything, right? But regardless, it is a good way to look at the overall health of the market, because that's one of the ways that we can actually track the prices and see how the market is doing overall. Now, I want to talk about the home sales for the year of 2025, right? So far we had 7 full months of data to look back at. And if you look here in January, we started off the year with an average price of $1,040,000. And then we saw prices go up in February and March, and it kind of peaked at that 112 number around May. So the average price of a home was about $1,120,000 in May. Now compare that to now, which is $1,050,000. You can say, depending on how you look at this data, average price of a home is down $70,000 this year alone from the peak to now. Now, condos, without having to say anything, you already know, condos are performing very poorly. Average price of a condo is down 8.6% from the same time last year. Now, although the home sales in the condo segment have also gone up, and we did see a slight decrease in active inventory, but overall the condo market is just performing very poorly. And also, with that said, there are also a lot of condos for sale on the market and very few buyers, meaning that it's a buyer's market with over 7 months of inventory. Now, as you know, most of my clients live here in the Durham region because I live here in the Durham region and I service this area. Now, there's a major difference between Durham region and Toronto. For the city of Toronto, condos represent about 70% of active listings. But for the Durham region, right, for Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa, Clarington, condos represent less than 10% of the active listings and even less of the total sales. So the impact that condos have on average and median prices here in the Durham region are fairly minimal. And so for that reason, when I talk about the Durham region, I like to look at the freehold properties, especially the detached homes, because detached homes make up 60 to 70% of the total home sales here in Durham. So it's a good way to look and see where prices are going there to kind of judge the overall health of the market here in Durham. Now, as of right now, Durham region is sitting at roughly 3.5 months of inventory, meaning we are in a balanced market, but prices have been coming down, right? I did the numbers, I looked at the numbers. Average and median price of a detached home in the Durham region, right? An average detached home in the Durham region is down about $40,000 to $60,000 in the last 6 months. Now, that is a fairly substantial drop, but you got to keep in mind that the months of inventory in the beginning of the year was far, far less than what it is right now. Now, $40,000 to $60,000 drop in prices, that's fairly significant, right? But the main reason for this is simply the supply and demand. Because earlier in the year, the freehold properties, right, when we're looking at January and February, the months of inventory here in Durham was sitting at anywhere from like 2 months to 2.5 months. And multiple offers were becoming the norm. Like we were seeing multiple offers on almost every single house. But fast forward to today, there are now a lot more homes for sale and a lot less sales are actually happening. There are currently 3.5 to maybe 4 months of inventory right now on the market. And that's actually what's causing the prices to come down, right? That's putting downward pressure on prices because buyers have a lot to choose from and sellers have to sell in some situations. Now, it's important to note that Bank of Canada did not cut interest rates last week, right? But Bank of Canada still has 3 more meetings to go before the end of the year. So they could come and cut interest rates in September or October or December. But until then, we won't know. But as of right now, rates are kind of staying at where they are. Also, it's important to note that we are still in the midst of a trade war with the US. So all that is actually making buyers a little bit uneasy about the market. But personally speaking, some of my buyers are out there looking, but they're not looking with a lot of urgency, right? They want to kind of wait and see. But if they are looking more serious and if they are putting in offers, they're all lowballing right now. And sometimes some of those lowball offers are actually being accepted. So if you're a seller right now, don't take it personal. It's all business. Lowballs are just part of the game, so to speak, or part of the business. And with this market and with the amount of competition that you have, buyers are going to be lowballing your house most likely. And on the buyer's side, this is your time to shine. You have a lot to choose from. There are a lot of houses for sale and you have the power. So go out there and do what you can. Maybe you'll get a really good deal, but just be patient. Regardless of which side of the equation you're on, you got to be patient and you got to do what's best for you. And as far as stats go, anybody can take a data point and spin it to make a crazy headline. So don't just believe the headlines, do your own research. And if you want to have an in-depth conversation about your real estate situation, I'd love to talk to you. You can do so by booking a meeting with me through the link in my bio. With that said, thanks for tuning in and until next time.